Hi, I'm Dr. Yaounde Olu. Welcome to another edition of AstroPoint, which is basically a new science forum. On AstroPoint, what you'll hear each time is information from a different standpoint. The idea is to get you to think outside of the box. So today on AstroPoint, we're going to talk about the use of astrology as a spiritual weapon. We're in really interesting times in the world right now. This is not just true in the United States, but all around the globe. In fact, everywhere you look, things are in transition. And that's what astrology can help us understand what's going on during that transition period. So sit back, and the basic thing that I want you to do is to put your skepticism to the side just for a few minutes and listen with an open mind, and as we move through this new territory. But before we do, I want to give you AstroPoint News. AstroPoint News. All right, usually on AstroPoint News, what I do is highlight the kind of news that got by most people that you won't see in the mainstream for the most part. Some of you may or may not know that big things have been happening in the Antarctic. Big things. Now, this particular item is old, but there are a lot of new things connected with it. So this was from Science magazine, put out by the American Association for the Advancement of Science. And it's from Dirac, Argentina. Scientists have uncovered the remains of a massive stone structure and other artifacts, estimated to be 4,000 years old, in a remote corner of Antarctica. So it's been speculated for a long time that very interesting things have been happening in Antarctica. In fact, there's been somewhat of a cover-up from what I'm being told. You don't hear too much news about it. But this is mainstream science right here, admitting that they have found artifacts in the Antarctic. And it's the first evidence of ancient civilization on the icy continent, and is being hailed as one of the most important archaeological digs of the century. Now, let me say this too. There's other news that is connected with this that comes from not so mainstream sources, where in actuality they have found a live civilization, or they have found entrances to the poles in the Antarctic. In fact, there has been an ongoing rumor that during World War II, that Hitler and his cronies, they were developing a whole new civilization called New Schwabenland, I believe it was, the title was. But supposedly, Admiral Byrd discovered this inner Earl civilization that's not just ancient, but that's going on right now in the Antarctic. And lately, there's been a lot of activity around that part of the world. So you heard it here, and the next time you hear something about it, pay attention. I can't vouch for any of this, but I am a reporter, and I'm sharing with you news that I have come upon. And then other news, a lot of people are complaining. They talk about conspiracy theories when we talk about mind control devices. And I just want to share with you the fact that there are actually a number of bona fide patents for mind control technology filed with the United States Patent Office. Now, there are a lot of them, but I just happen to select, there are 23 U.S. patented mind control related devices from 1956 to 2003. And what I'm going to do is just name some of the patents and what they do. So, this is actual. This is not theory. This is what is actually possible today. Patent number US 3014477, hypnotic inducer, a mind control machine. The inventor was someone named Carlin. Patent US 3060795, an apparatus for producing visual stimulation, subconscious transmission via movie film. Patent US 3278676, apparatus for producing visual and auditory stimulation, subconscious transmission via TV. You hear what I'm saying? And this was Becker. The patent was issued in 1966. We have here patent US 3393279, nervous system excitation device. And it was influenced or given by Flanagan, and that was 1968. And US 3884218, method of inducing and maintaining stages of sleep in the human being, FFR frequency following response microwave, introduced by Monroe, and the patent was issued in 1975. Patent US 4395600, auditory subliminal message system and method, subliminal brainwash via music or other sound, and this was introduced by Lundy in 1983. Patent US 4717343, method of changing a person's behavior, subconscious brainwash via video, introduced by Densky, and that was in 1988. US Patent 4777529, auditory subliminal programming system via silent brainwash via music or other sound. That's another one. Schultz, Doledge, 1988. US Patent 4858612, hearing device, microwave hearing, introduced by, applied for by Stocklin, issued 1989. And I'll just read a few more. US Patent 5356368, method of an apparatus for inducing desired states of consciousness, FFR/EEG, waveforms via broadcast, by Monroe, and issued 1994. And check this one out. US Patent 5774088, method and system for warning birds of hazards, microwave hearing, Creathen, and the patent was issued 1998. US Patent 6052336, apparatus and method of broadcasting audible sound using ultrasound as a carrier, introduced by Lowry, 2000. And US Patent 6470214, method and device for implementing the radio frequency hearing effect, microwave hearing, O'Loughlin and Laurie, patent issue 2002. And for the last one I'll mention today, US Patent 6587729, apparatus for audibly communicating speech using the radio frequency hearing effect, in other words, microwave hearing, O'Loughlin, Laurie, and that was 2003. So the next time you hear someone say, I'm hearing voices, they may or may not be in their normal mind. The technology exists to actually influence people on a subconscious and a subliminal method, on a basis, rather. The technology does exist. So I just wanted to share, because a lot of people wonder whether or not people can be influenced to behave in certain ways. because of technology. And I'm here to say that apparently that is really true. So now we're going to go to what is astrology. We're going to talk about astrology from the standpoint of it being used to understand what's going on today. Astrology is the art science that provides a roadmap to the dynamic, energetic interactions in this sea of mind. We exist in the sea of mind. The most obvious guideposts that we see in the sea of mind are galaxies, stars, constellations, and planets. And the term astrology means study of the stars. And basically, the astrologies consist of several elements. First, we talk about what are called planets. Most of us look up into the night sky, and with telescopes you can see, well, sometimes you can see Venus and a couple of the other planets, but the planets that are used in astrology, and we're not talking about we have what are called outer planet. We have other fixed stars and elements in astrology, but the main ones are the sun, which is not actually a planet. The moon is not actually a planet. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. And they're theorizing that actually a planet X exists. And also Pluto was demoted recently to a dwarf planet, but I can tell you from doing charts that it does have an impact. Pluto does affect us on a significant level. So next we have what are called signs in astrology. And the astrological signs are basically grouped in 6 pairs of opposites. You have Aries, Libra, Taurus is opposite Scorpio, Gemini is opposite Sagittarius, Cancer is opposite Capricorn, Leo is opposite Aquarius, and Virgo is opposite Pisces. So we have 6 pairs of opposites. And then next, we have we have the second aspect of the signs. Each pair has a point of synthesis or resultant. And by the way, this part is coming from what's called uniphysics, which is something that I've discovered, where there's a blending that occurs. So the blending or point of synthesis between Aries and Libra is Libra. Between Taurus and Scorpio is Sagittarius. Gemini and Sagittarius, the point of synthesis is Aquarius. Cancer, Capricorn, Aries. The point of synthesis between Leo and Aquarius is Gemini. And Virgo, Pisces, the point of synthesis is Leo. In other words, these are, when you put these signs together, these are the vectors. This is the direction that they actually end up in your chart or outside of the chart. Patterns in the sea of mind. And all of these, by the way, are patterns in the sea of mind. In astrological science, a fourfold pattern is seen in the 4 angles of the astrological chart and the fourfold cross structure of the 12 astrological signs. The 12 astrological signs are grouped into 3 crosses. You have the cardinal cross, fixed cross, and the mutable cross. And next, patterns in the sea of mind. The cardinal cross consists of the 4 cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. The fixed cross consists of the 4 fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And the mutable cross consists of the 4 mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. So next, patterns. This is the cardinal cross, and this is something interesting that I've discovered. And by the way, these degrees are degrees on a 360-degree circle. So when you look at an astrological chart, it's divided up into 360 degrees. So Aries is 0 or 360, that adds to 9. When you add 3 and 6, that comes to 9. Cancer is 90, and if you add 9 plus 0, that comes to 9. Libra is 180 degrees, and you add that 180, that comes to 9. And Capricorn, 270 degrees, 7 plus 2 is 9. So all of the the numbers in the cardinal cross sum to 9. And the point of synthesis is Libra, 180 degrees Libra, which sums to 9. So when we look at the cardinal cross or the initial cross, the 4 angles, the Libra, the sign of balance, is the underpinning for all of that. All right, patterns in the sea of mind, the fixed cross. Taurus is 30 degrees, Leo is 120 degrees, Scorpio 210, and Aquarius 300. And when you add these to one digit, sum to one digit, Taurus 3 plus 0 is 3, Leo is 1 plus 2, 3, Scorpio is 210, that's 2 plus 1, 3, and Aquarius is 3003. So all of the numbers in the fixed cross sum to 3. And the point of synthesis for the fixed cross is Aquarius, which also sums to 3. 3 plus 0 is 3. And then we move to the mutable cross, which is the last cross. We have Gemini, which is 60 degrees, Virgo 150 degrees, Sagittarius 240 degrees, and Pisces 330 degrees. And all of those add to a 6. Gemini is 6 plus 0 is 0, Virgo is 1 plus 5 is 6, Sagittarius 2 plus 4 is 6, and Pisces 3 plus 3 is 6. So all of the signs in the mutable cross sum to 6. And the point of synthesis for all of them, they come to convergence in Gemini, and that's 6. 60 degrees, and 6 plus 0 is 6. So patterns in the sea of mind. The sum total of the degrees of all 3 crosses is 1,980 degrees, which resolves to 9. When you add all the numbers, 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 0 comes to 18, which is 9. When 360 is continually subtracted from 1980 until the first number below 360 is reached, the result is 180. And remember we said that was Libra? Therefore, Libra, 180 degrees, the balance, is the underlying principle of life in the matrix of the sea of mind. The ruling principle or planet of Libra is Venus, the planet of love. So when we talk about planets and when we talk about the whole underpinning for life on this planet and life in the universe, life in this solar system, basically, we're talking about everything balancing to Libra, which is the planet of love. And so there's a reason for people always saying that love is the key to everything. Actually, astrologically, when you look at these numbers, it actually comes out to be that. It adds up to that. All right, next, we're going to talk a little bit about galactic astrology. I said it, galactic astrology. Right now, we are well into what's called the photon belt. A photon band was discovered in outer space in 1961 by means of a satellite-borne instrument. Planet Earth is now gradually moving into the Pleiades, the 7 sisters, an estimated 440 light years from here. And by the way, the Pleiades are actually mentioned in the Bible. The constellation of the Pleiades in the Milky Way galaxy is composed of several solar systems. The central sun of the Pleiades is called Alcyone, which is always within the photon belt. The Pleiadian solar systems from the inside out are Merope, Atlas, Maya, Electra, Coeli, I may be pronouncing that incorrectly, but it's either Coeli or Coeli, Taygeta, and ours, which is called Ours. Did you know that our solar system is called Ours? These are in and out of the photon belt for varying periods of time, depending upon their orbit. Our system, Ours, is the farthest and the last orbit in rotating around Alcyone, and it takes 25,920 years to complete a full turn. So Photon belt 2. There's a picture of the Pleiades constellation and the solar systems within it. You can see the photon belt, it's outlined, and you have 200 years of light, and there should be, I'm sorry, not 200, I think that's 2,000 years of night. And in other philosophies, they talk about days and nights of Brahma. But anyway, our solar system, you can see it all the way out there on the edge. So our solar system and planet, that's where we are. You can see the diagram there. One revolution around the central sun takes 25,920 years. Periods of darkness alternate with periods of light. Light. Remember I talked about the days and nights of Brahma. The photon belt, and check this out, this is important. The photon belt is a period of transformation. We're given the chance to break the current restraints of bondage and go home from whence we originally came. In this transformational process, all of us will become very aware of problems in our self-esteem or relationships, finances, health, jobs, and in every facet of our physical reality. No longer will we be able to suppress or hide our old patterns of denial. Along with everything else, our consciousness is being restructured to a state of balance wherein we will become equal parts of the feminine and masculine energies. If we survive, look for the emergence of the soft male and strong female. So these are some of the influences that are happening right now. Many people will become clairaudient, clairvoyant, in other words, you can hear things, clairvoyant, you can see things, clairsentient, and more. Many will become great seers, healers, and prophets during this time. We must be careful to qualify our intentions because of this new energy, making sure they go to our intended target of light. Otherwise, statements of affirmation may be picked up by the darker forces and used against us. As our bodies and consciousness reform into the light, thought and not physical action will become dominant. In this new mode, etheric reality, thoughts are more real than physical action. Eventually, we will be able to project our thoughts for all to see and hear. No longer will we be able to hide malice, avarice, greed, hate, lust, deceit, or dishonesty. As soon as you think it, you become it. So these are things that you need to be paying attention to during this period. Some of the symptoms that people are undergoing through this period are headaches, flu-like symptoms. By the way, these things are normal, but there will be an excess of these during this period. Nausea feelings and loose bowel movements, even diarrhea, extreme tiredness, excessive energy, crying for no reason and feeling emotionally vulnerable, hot flashes and night and day sweats, muscle aches and joint pain, and fluttering in the heart area and pain, breathing problems, putting on weight, and now that's true of a whole lot of us, losing your memory or feeling spacey, pains in the ears and hearing problems, extreme sensitivity, depression, blowing light bulbs and fuzzing electronics, animal reactions, food changes. Now, this is something that's happening right now, or was happening. Years ago, I predicted that the black community would experience a transformation, a revival, or resurrection during the Uranus transit of Pisces. This was during the early days of the candidacy of former President Barack Obama. His actual election was accompanied by a Uranian or electric rush of excitement, enthusiasm, and hope that has momentarily buoyed the black community as well as others. And if you recall, people were very, very excited when Uranus went into Pisces. And by the way, black people, based on a book that I wrote years ago, are ruled by the sign Pisces, And if you want to, Europeans or white people are ruled by Virgo. So Uranus and Pisces, the next element of the Uranus and Pisces. Barack Obama's election to the presidency of the United States was only the beginning of this Uranian transformation in Black America. Probably the greatest legacy of Obama's phenomenal ascension is the demonstration that even the most formidable barriers can be breached. So there we have Uranus in Pisces. Now Uranus is in Aries, the planet of electrical excitement. It's also the planet of the crossroads, as demonstrated by Eshu in the Yoruba pantheon of gods. It is currently in Aries. There will be further shakeups and a complete overturning of the present status quo. There will be challenges and triumphs. These are critical times, and the outcomes will depend upon our willingness to take our destiny into our own hands. Right now, with Uranus and Aries, there are all kinds of warlike activities, the beginning of a whole new way of looking and thinking and feeling. And Uranus and Aries at the crossroads, what we must do. We must successfully navigate beyond the frequency fence erected by popular culture so that we can begin to build a meaningful future. The challenges will be exacerbated by a downturn in the economy, climate change, wars, geological upheavals, and some possibly very surprising revelations about the nature of life and our place in the universe. So these are things that are happening right now, this very moment. We could see all around the world climate change is a reality, even though there are those people who are saying that it is not, but it is definitely a reality. By the way, climate change may or may not be naturally induced. It could be the result of, I should say, technical manipulation, but it can also be part of the natural ongoing fiber of things. So, the current state of Black America, the late great astrologer Al Joy stated that it takes 124 years before a cycle is completed. For example, slavery ended in 1865. If we add 124 years to that, it brings us to 1989. And interestingly, 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 9 sums to 9. 9 represents the completion of a cycle. 1989, therefore, was the year that began a new post-slavery age in the experience of Black people in America. And today, the Black community has a number of significant, life-altering, and threatening problems. We are at a crossroads where we can either come together and survive or go down to defeat. Because right now, at least in the United States, in fact, all over in Somalia, and Sudan, all over Haiti, everywhere you find Black people, you find that we're going through some type of major transformation. So this is very crucial period in the life of the world and in the life of Black people. By the way, this is not just true of African Americans and Black people, it's true of everybody. These are some of the external threats that we face right now that are causing major challenges. Thinning of the herd through biological methods. Chemtrails, I know some of you may have seen chemtrails. When you look at the night sky, there's a difference between chemtrails and contrails. Contrails dissipate quickly when planes fly past. But when you look up and you see chemtrails crossing, you see these what appear to be trails of smoke that don't dissolve quickly, those are chemtrails. And there's a question as to what is in those chemtrails. AIDS, Ebola, and other diseases that might pop up. Weather warfare, HAARP, High Amplitude Auroral Research Project, which has the capability of influencing weather and other kinds of patterns around the planet. Biological warfare, pharmaculture, control of the media and the subsequent use of self-destructive memes via mind control. In other words, racism, things that are influenced by racism, causing people to hate each other. And that's why I say it's not just limited to one group of people. But right now, we are being encouraged to hate each other on multiple levels. Incarceration, this has been called the age of mass incarceration, especially in the Black community. Economic violence, I don't even need to describe that. I know you know what that is. Psychic judo, using your strength against you. Indirect genocide. For example, when guns are dropped off mysteriously in certain areas of the Black community, and then certain individuals who are prone to use them, and then they use them on each other. And these genocide-inducing popular culture uses themes that focus on the lowest common denominator. So focus on sex, focus on drugs, focus on materialism. And then stress, elevation, and consequent diseases. We know that disease can come with stress, or stress can be an inducer of disease. And finally, catastrophe. Those are some of the external threats. Recently, there have been a number of devastating floods in Houston. We experienced Hurricane Katrina, and all around the world, right? Mudslides, all around there are geological challenges, geological upheavals that we're faced with. So these are some of the external threats that we're being faced with right now and that we're going to have to learn to deal with. So what are some of the things that we can do? So spiritual weapons. Timing is everything. One of the most important points of mitigation is to determine the best possible times to act. A knowledge of astrology is valuable in that it can help you make important decisions based on pertinent timing. And then next, for spiritual weapons, and these are key for all of us. Awaken consciousness. Wake up. There's a current meme going around, stay woke. Well, that's key. We have to question everything. We have to be aware of what's going on around us and not automatically assume that what is being said is true. It's no accident that one of the main memes going around, circulating, is fake news. And so it's really true that if those of you who are part of social media know that fake news is an unfortunate aspect of life right now. Unfortunate aspect of life, because you can't tell what's true and what's not true. Discerning behavior, question everything, as I said before. Prayer, meditation, and right action. In other words, everything is based on frequency. So if you can get on a frequency where your integrity is at its highest point, virtue is at its highest point, that's where you need to be. You need to be on that frequency. Right action, meditation, prayer. Prayer is based on vibration. Vibration brings things into manifestation. Also, get in touch with self. Who are you? What are you about? What do you want? How do you relate to everyone else? And then also consciously observe the messages provided by the frequency fence. See what is being sold to you. Love and respect yourself, and I might add others, as much as possible. Love is the frequency that we should all be on. It's the highest frequency. And then another weapon would be study alternative knowledge systems. like astrology, like the tarot, like New Thought. All of those things are weapons that can be used. So that's a summary of some of the weapons that you could use. And then I have another one that I want to share with you. This is my latest publication. Well, it's my latest publication that's been published because I have another very important book in the works. This is an almanac of unfavorable timing, dates and times to avoid when planning events and activities. This is a brand new concept, everybody, a brand new concept. Usually in what's called electional astrology, what you do is you select a time for things based on based on where the stars are or where the planets are or whatever. So let me say right now that with this almanac, instead of just outlining times, doing charts for the timing of events, that if you want to, let's say you want to give a party and you want to know the best time to give that party or the best time to start a job or the best time to do anything, that's called electional astrology. And an astrologer can draw up a map and give you an idea as to what time those things can happen, the best times for them to happen. And you also have what's called horary astrology, which is done for when a person asks you the question, you can give that person an estimation of what the outcome of that question will be. Well, this is my invention, so to speak. It focuses basically on unfavorable timing. And so what that means is that it's not just the best time to do something, but it's the time to avoid doing something. And what that means is this. I have included some elements in here that are pretty much foolproof to such an extent that you can tell based on using this whether or not astrology is really valid or not. So what do I mean by that? I point to times where you shouldn't do things. This particular almanac is done for the period July 2017 through December 2018. So for the remainder of this year and all through next year up to the end of next year. And so what I've included are what are called moon void of course time. So a moon void of course time is a time where the moon is void of course when it takes its last Ptolemaic aspect before entering the next sign. And this occurs about once every 2.5 days. So decisions made during these times are usually non-realistic, and outcomes will not be what were expected. If you buy something during that time, chances are it may not be what you wanted, you might have to return it, or it may be unsatisfactory in some kind of way. If you get an offer of some type, or asked to sign a contract or start a new project, you can be sure that it will not turn out as expected if the offer came during the moon void of course time. Now, certainly you can carry on with normal chores. Let's say you can clean your home, or if you have projects that are already started, that's good for that. You can just continue those times. And also, it's a good time for coming up with ideas that you hadn't thought before. Let's say you've had challenges in a particular area. Well, with the moon void of course times, those are really, really good times to have new ideas come into your mind because it's a chance to get fresh information. So moon void of course times are not bad times per se. What they are down times and times for you to reconsider or look at things in a fresh way. So if somebody calls you on the phone when the moon is void of course and says, let's start this new business. Well, if the moon is void of course, that business will not start the way it was planned. Things will not work out the way it was intended. So that's one thing. But I will say this, I have an astrologer friend who just recently won a windfall, and he played the lottery when the moon was void, of course. So it might be good for things like that. But basically, moon void of course times are included in this book. Also, in this almanac, rather. Also, I've included in this Mercury retrograde periods. And by the way, interestingly, this program is being recorded during a Mercury retrograde period. And basically, retrograde periods are times when the planets appear to be moving backward. Now, of course, this never really happens, but relative orbital speeds make it seem as though the planet is moving backwards. Let's say, for example, you're at a stoplight and another car is at a stoplight, and the other car you start moving forward before the other car starts moving forward. Well, a passenger in your car and looking out of the window at that car, it will appear that that car is moving backward. But what's actually happening is that you just happen to be moving faster in relation to that other planet, which makes it appear to be moving backward. The planets never move backward, but it's based on relative orbital speeds. The sun is never retrograde, by the way, and the moon is never retrograde. And so in 2017, the remaining retrograde periods are August 12th through September 5th. And then we have a Mercury retrograde period, December 2nd through December 22nd at the end of this year. And Mercury retrograde periods, you should not sign contracts if possible. Personal communications may be problematic. In other words, people might misunderstand you. Simple slights might grow into from molehills into mountains inadvertently. You know, it wasn't meant to be that way, but accidents can happen more often during Mercury retrograde periods. Now, Mercury retrograde periods are really good, however, if you're a writer. It's really good for going inside and for writing, for introspection, or for repeating or redoing something. So anytime you see the word re in front of it, and it's during Mercury retrograde, it's okay to work with those things. You may also have delays, challenges with automobiles, computer glitches, computer breakdowns, things of that nature. And sometimes decisions made during Mercury retrograde periods are reversed when Mercury turns direct. So these periods are not bad periods per se. It's just that you have to be conscious of the fact that our communications, our connections may be compromised slightly during Mercury retrograde periods. In 2018, the retrograde periods are March 22nd through April 15, 2018, July 25th through August 18, 2018, and then November 16th through December 6th in 2018. So those are the Mercury retrograde periods during the year 2018. And the next thing I'll talk about briefly are eclipses. Now, eclipses can be said to cause a rush of activity, and we've had a couple of very significant ones this year, which is 2017. A solar eclipse occurs when the moon passes between the Earth and Sun, with the moon partially blocking the sun. And an annular solar eclipse is when the edge of the sun remains visible and forms a ring of fire around the moon, or annulus around the moon, and we saw that recently. A lunar eclipse occurs when Earth crosses between the moon and the sun, which casts a shadow of the Earth onto the moon. This can only happen during the full moon or when the moon passes through the Earth's shadow. Earth has two types of shadows referred to as the penumbra and umbra. Now, the 2017 solar eclipses, we had one February 26th. We had one August 21st, which was major, and people all across the United States were able to see see this eclipse. And the next time it will happen to this degree, I believe, is in 2024. And it's visible in West Europe, Northeastern Asia, Northwest Africa, North America, most of South America, Pacific, Atlantic, Arctic, and the sun was in Leo when that happened. And you know, people were out with their solar glasses looking at the sun, and I don't know how many people, I hope most people didn't hurt themselves trying to catch a glimpse of that solar eclipse, but that was major. And usually there's when you have an eclipse, astrologically, it can mean that there's basically a kind of blackout, so to speak, spiritually in one sense or another. And so the next time there's a hard aspect to a major eclipse like this, you can expect some type of change one way or the other. So with the sun in Leo and with this eclipse, the next time we have an opposition, square or opposition to that eclipse, then we can expect some major changes and major things to happen in the world. And then 2017 lunar eclipses. We had one February 10th, and we had one August the 7th. We had a lunar eclipse. Now, in the year 2018, the solar eclipse, we have one February 15th. Only one solar eclipse, and it will be in the sign opposite the one that the solar eclipse we had in 2017. And then in 2018, we have lunar eclipses, January 31st, and then we have July 27th in 2018. Those are the lunar eclipses. And then I talk about high cycle and low cycle periods. Generally, a high cycle day is a day that tends to favor those born under the sign. Of course, the moon and other planets have an effect also, but for the purposes of mitigation, these days are good for positive discretionary activities. I've always said that, for example, if you are a Scorpio and the moon is a Scorpio, that would be a high cycle day for you, or high cycle time. The moon changes signs, every couple of days or so, couple of days. And so if you can do whatever you're going to do when the moon is harmonious with you, when it's in a sign that's compatible. So if you're a water sign, that means all the other water signs and then the earth signs are compatible with you. If you're a fire sign, that would mean the other fire signs and the air signs would be compatible. Low cycle days are those days that might tend to be challenging. So it would be best to consult an astrologer, someone who knows what they're talking about, and an ephemeris, if you can read an ephemeris, to determine what your high cycle days or low cycle days are. The best thing might be to just get a calendar, an astrological calendar, which makes all of this make sense for you. So that your sun sign, if you're Aries, your high cycle time would be Aries, your low cycle time would be Libra. But this is also the sign of partnerships as well. If you're Taurus, your low cycle will be Scorpio, high cycle will be Taurus, etc., etc. on. So whatever sign is the opposite of your sign, that would be your low cycle day. But low does not mean necessarily bad per se. It could also mean those times when you can do partnerships and take care of legal matters or whatever. And then I outline in here full moons. So I have all of the full moons in the year 2017, and I have all of the full moons in the year 2018, and the full moon times are not adverse times per se. They're times that tend to be more emotional than usual. And they often reveal that which is hidden. Sometimes things come to light when the moon is full. And it has been said that statistically, criminal activity is higher during these full moon times. And you've heard the word lunatic, lunar coming from the moon. Um, so, and then you have what are called the moon's nodes. The moon's nodes are sensitive spots that are always exactly opposite each other. The north node is the point where the moon's orbit crosses the ecliptic. The ecliptic is that central area around which the zodiac is situated. So when the moon's orbit crosses the ecliptic plane going upward, it signifies ascension, connections, inspiration, future possibilities. So that's usually considered a pretty good spot. The south node is a point where the moon's orbit crosses the ecliptic plane going downward, signifies descending, disconnections, untimeliness, unpleasantness, and the past. So when you are planning events and activities, please try to avoid the natal or transiting sun or moon conjunct the natal or transiting south node or Mercury, because that means your timing might be off. It's not really a good time. For example, if you're going to take a test and the south node, you find that the south node of the moon is on your sun sign or on your moon sign or on your Mercury, you may not do well on that test. So there are numerous other mitigation systems, but what I'm going to talk about now, and I've talked about this before on previous shows, the people flow frequency zones. Now this is part of astrology that is what I call uniphysics, which is chartless. You don't need to understand, you don't need to have a chart done or anything. Right now we exist in the sea of mind, as I said at the beginning, and the flow, ebb and flow of people in and out of the sea of mind, they provide messages. In fact, there was a person called Ralph Creasy who wrote a book on planetary messengers back in the 1940s. And he was right on point. But uniphysics identifies the flow of people and things in the environment. So as the people come and flow in your environment. A point of synthesis, a point of balance, and a 0 point can be used to mitigate this flow. So these are some of the key points that are traversed by our planet during the year, along with the astropsychological frequencies. Astropsychological frequencies. So 0 to 29 degrees Aries, whenever a person born during this period recognizes you anywhere at any time or comes to your home, it is a message from the planet Mars. And when 30 degrees of 59.9, that person, Taurus, brings a message from the planet Venus. Gemini, that person brings a message from Mercury that you are backed in affairs of communication or local travel. Cancer, message that you may expect an immediate change. If the Cancer person is friendly, the change will be for the better. Leo, message that the sun is behind you to make plans to succeed. Virgo, message from Mercury concerning your health or your closing. Someone is concerned about your health. Libra, message from Venus represents love and harmony. Love will follow or relationships will be restored. Scorpio, message from Pluto, transformation, reincarnation, take a rest with what you're doing. Taxes, wills, estate matters, or insurance need attention. Sagittarius, message from Jupiter, this is a time for financial transactions. Someone at that moment wants to spend their money with you. Capricorn, message from the planet Saturn about the roles of discipline and responsibility. Aquarius, message that the unexpected and suddenness will occur within 24 hours. And finally, Pisces, message from Neptune informing you that a promotion, disappointment, or deception of some type is to follow. And then finally, I have what's called the AstroSense algorithm. I'll just show it. I guess you can't see it from here, but it's basically a step where you can actually mathematically plot the vector or the resultant of any body who comes into your life and the possible outcomes for those situations. And there you have it. Astrology has been really debunked by the establishment. And it makes sense if you think about how people want to control things. I recall that there was a certain president who made certain decisions when the moon was void of course, which means that that particular president, and I remember this, that particular president actually knew that that treaty was not going to have any teeth, that nothing was going to come of that situation. So if you're armed with knowledge, if you have information, then you're a step ahead of those who don't. Now, a lot of people talk about the Bible. We did a conference recently where we pointed out a number of things connected with astrology throughout the Bible. They're in code, most of them, but astrology all the way from the 12 disciples, the 12 apostles, the 12 gates to the city, on and on, the Beatitudes. There are just any number of elements in the Bible that point to astrology as something valid. But we have to remember that the Bible was edited any number of times, and so that those people who are in control can tell you not to pay attention to something while they use it as a tool. So just keep your mind open, check it out. And with that said, I'm so happy that you joined us for another edition of Astro Point, a new science forum. Tomorrow's program, today. Keep an open mind, and remember, love is the key. Love is the underpinning for everything. Namaste, Hotep, peace.